The Gemara relates that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim to receive the Torah, the Malachim turned to Hashem and say, Ribono Shel Olam, what is this human being doing amongst us? Hashem responds, he came to receive the Torah. So the Malachim says, you have this special treasure that's hidden before you for so long, and now you want to give it to the human beings? Why should you even be remembering and thinking about these human beings? So the Eibishter says to Moshe Rabbeinu, respond to them. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ribono Shel Olam, this Torah that you're about to give me, what does it say in it? Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher tzisicha Mitzrayim, I am Hashem that took you out of Mitzrayim. Moshe turns to the Malachim and say, did you go down to Mitzrayim? Were you slaves to Paroi? Why should you get the Torah? What else says in the Torah? The next one of the Aseres Hadibros, Lo yeh lecha elikim achedim, not to have idols. Do you live amongst nations that serve idols? Do you need this warning? What else says in the Torah? Keeping Shabbos. Do you do work? What else is there? Do you have parents? It says not to kill, not to commit adultery, not to steal. He says to the Malachim, do you have jealousy? Do you have a Yetzer Hara? So finally the Malachim acknowledge and admit to Hashem, yes, Moshe Rabbeinu should get the Torah for the Yidden. The Mefarshim explain, what was the argument of the Malachim halachically? Why do they think they deserve the Torah? So this is a concept of something called Bar Metzora. We're going to be using this term, Bar Metzora, throughout the Sikha. So the term Bar Metzora literally means the one living at the border, meaning to say a neighbor living near your field, near your property. The halacha is, if you sell your field and you sold it to somebody else, to a foreigner, the neighbor next to your field can come along and say, why didn't you sell the field to me? I should have deserved it. I should have gotten it first. And the halacha is that the field will now go, obviously he has to pay for it, but it goes now to this Bar Metzora. And this was the claim of the Malachim. The Torah up until now was heaven in the spirit, hidden in the spiritual realm, in the heavens. We are the Bar Metzora, we are those neighbors, we deserve the Torah. Now that sounds like a good claim. So what's Moshe Rabbeinu's response back to that? Now here we have in the Mefarshim many different explanations. The Rebbe is going to go through a number of them and explain why they're problematic, and then we're going to come to the Rebbe's answer. So one answer is given is that this whole concept of this claim of the Bar Metzora only works for real estate, for land, not for movable objects. Torah is not real estate, so the concept of Bar Metzora doesn't apply. Another suggested answer is the whole concept of Bar Metzora is only if the person giving away the field is giving it away in a sale. So then the neighbor could come and say, why didn't you sell it to me? It does not apply if it was a gift. The neighbor can't say, why didn't you give it to me? Another suggested answer is, if you're giving it over to your relatives, to your children for sure, there's no concept of the neighbor coming in and saying, I have first rights. The Yidden, the Pasuk says, Ki mi goy godel asher lo Elokim kroivim elav. They are considered close or even relatives kavayochel to Hashem. They're called the children of Hashem, so the din of Bar Metzora doesn't apply. Another answer given is, the Malachim are in heaven. Moshe Rabbeinu himself is called Ish HaElokim, a godly person. So he too is a neighbor of Bar Metzora. And finally, another answer, we know that the Pasuk says, the Gemara says on the Pasuk, when Moshe Rabbeinu was judging the Yidden from Boiker till Erev, the Chazal say that Moshe Rabbeinu was judging according to Torah in the right way, and a person that judges in that way becomes like a partner to Hashem in creation. So here again is another answer that the din of Bar Metzora does not apply if you're selling it to your partner. Now you might say regarding these last two answers that a Moshe is called a godly person and a Moshe is a partner. Well, Moshe Rabbeinu is getting the Torah for the Yidden, not for himself. But the truth of the matter is all Yidden are also in that category, because first of all Yidden's neshamas also are called carved out from under the Kisei HaKavod. They're also all godly beings like Moshe Rabbeinu, so they're also a Bar Metzora. And Yidden are also all called partners of Hashem, because we know that the Yidden had received the mitzvah of Shabbos already even before Matan Torah. And we know that a person that says Vayichulu on the evening of Shabbos, keeps Shabbos properly, is also called a partner to Hashem. So these are all nice, beautiful answers why the concept of Bar Metzora seemingly does not apply. But the Rebbe has one major question on all of them, and then some individual questions. Seemingly, the Rebbe says, it's what's called a Iker Chaser Ben HaSefer. If that's what Moshe Rabbeinu's response is, any of these answers, none of them seem to be hinted in the words that Moshe Rabbeinu actually says to the Malachim. If anything, what's emphasized is exactly the opposite. The last few answers that we suggested are somehow suggesting that Yidden are close to Hashem. They're more spiritual beings. They're partners to Hashem and so on. What Moshe Rabbeinu is emphasizing in his answers is exactly the opposite. Yidden are down in Mitzrayim, we're connected to a physical world, to physicality, to materialism. We have a Yetzer Hara. So it's exactly the opposite of what some of these answers seem to be implying. More specifically regarding some of these answers, if we say that Torah is not like real estate, it's more like a movable object, and therefore Bar Metzora does not apply. The Rebbe says, why does Bar Metzora not apply by a movable object? Because technically, the idea of land is you want to buy a piece of land that's next to your land. You can't get this land anywhere else. But movable objects, you could get from the other side of the world. You could buy it somewhere else and bring it to your house. Well, Torah is definitely something that you can't get anywhere else. So seemingly the Malachim still have a claim. We can't get the Torah anywhere else, and we are the neighbors. Another point that Rebbe says, as far as saying the Torah is a gift and therefore Bar Metzora does not apply, it's true that Torah is a gift, but there's also, Torah is called an inheritance to the Yidden, it's called a gift, but it's also called a sale. And as far as the sale aspect in Torah, seemingly the concept of Bar Metzora should apply. Another answer given in the Mefarshim is that what the Malachim actually wanted wasn't all the Torah in its literal and simple sense. They also understand that the Torah as it is doesn't apply to them. They wanted more the secrets, the pnimius of Torah, the ruchnius part of Torah. And therefore, why doesn't Bar Metzora apply? For one of two reasons. Number one, the din of Bar Metzora doesn't apply if you're going to be selling all of your possessions to one person. The Bar Metzora cannot come along and say, oh, but I wanted part of your possessions. Well, here I have someone that's buying it all off me. The Malachim only want one little part, only the Chelek HaSoid. Another thing is that if the Bar Metzora is just having to have some extra land, some extra assets, whereas the buyer is desperate for it, he needs it, so then the concept of Bar Metzora doesn't apply and you can give it to that buyer. Now for Bnei Yisrael, Torah is something that they desperately need. Torah is our life. Torah is our antidote to the Yetzer Hara. Whereas the Malachim that are only getting the Kabbalah or the Pnimius of Torah is just like having an extra bonus. But again, the Rebbe says this is problematic. First of all, if that's the case, what's Moshe Rabbeinu telling them? Do you have parents? Do you have a Yetzer Hara? Obviously they know that. That's the whole point. They don't even want that part of Torah. They only wanted the Pnimius of Torah. And the aspect that if you're selling all of your possessions to someone, there's no din of Bar Metzora, or if you're selling it just for the guy to have extra stuff, it's not Bar Metzora. Once again, this is not hinted in any way in Moshe Rabbeinu's words. So finally, the Rebbe gives us his explanation, the Rebbe's beer. We know that the whole point of why Hashem gave us the Torah is Nisava Kadosh Baruch Hu Liyos Loidira Betachtoinim, to make a place, a house, a dwelling place for Hashem down here in this world for Hashem. And here we have one more din in Bar Metzora. If the Bar Metzora, the neighbor, wants to feel just a plant to sow, but the buyer is getting it for building a house, we have a concept that Yishuv, settling it with a house, is considered much more important. And this is what the Yidden want to do with the Torah. They want to make a house for Hashem. And this is why Moshe Rabbeinu, what's he emphasizing in his answer to Malachim? He's saying, do you go down to Mitzrayim? Do you do work? In other words, Torah is specifically connected to the Yidden, how they are related to a Gashmiistic world because they want to make a place for Hashem down here in this world. Now, obviously, by them making a place down in this world, this is also going to elevate all the other worlds and bring Atzmos, the very essence of Hashem, into all the Olamos. Because when you pick up something from the bottom, it lifts up the whole of Seder Ishtalshalos. However, there's one more thing that the Rebbe deals with. Because seemingly the Malachim could say to the Yidden, or to Moshe Rabbeinu, you want to make a house for Hashem, why can't we make a dira, bring down Atzmos in the upper worlds? But the Rebbe says the truth of the matter is this whole concept of drawing down Atzmos, the very essence of Hashem, is only shaykh down here in this world. And the Rebbe explains, the koyach of Atzmos, of the essence of Hashem, is specifically revealed through an avodah that's called a chidush, a novelty. When we take the yeshus, the physicality of our world, the existence of our world, and we turn it into spiritual, we make a place for Hashem out of it. Similar to the koyach of Hashem, that we know Hashem is the only one that could create out of nothing, making it into something. The same thing, Hashem is the only one, the essence of Hashem is the only one that can give us the koyach to take from a world that's yesh and turn it into ayin, to be bottled to Hashem. And therefore, once again, this is only possible in a place where there is klipos, where there is a Yetzer Hara, and that's Moshe Rabbeinu's message, that the whole concept of drawing down Atzmos is really only possible in this physical world. Says the Rebbe, this idea of this hischachus is also hinted in what Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Malachim, do you have a father and a mother? Because this idea of a father and a mother, the koyach of elad, of having children, is also the revelation of the koyach of Ein Sof, this power of being able to be able to create. Where is that found? Specifically in our world, and not by the malachim. And this is what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, that the koyach of Ischachus is specifically by Yidden, where they take out of the whole world and they make it a dira lo yizbarich for Hashem.